when kids make an accurate prediction and find out it's right, there's going to be the release of dopamine, which we want. That's going to increase the likelihood of learning. Now, when is a child likely to make a prediction? And they're curious about something. They're most likely to make predictions, especially kids who are older. They're randomly not going to go around making predictions, especially aloud. So getting kids curious, having something unusual in the room or with them, or an unusual activity where they're going to ask questions, now you're set up for, they're curious, you invite them to say, why do you think? Why do you think that there's a bird in the room? Why do you think that I'm walking backwards? Now they're going to logically ask, after you've made them curious and they ask questions, you flip it and you ask them to predict. Now they're alert and interested and want to get information so they can find out if their prediction's right. When the brain is going to focus attention and let in sensory information, and also be in the emotional state where it's receptive to receiving it and processing it in the higher brain, the brain appears through neuroimaging to benefit from certain preconditions. And a lot of this comes from the video game model, but one of the preconditions that increases buy-in is when the information is relevant, when a child sees value, when the child sees a purpose in acquiring the knowledge. So when the group work is based on a question or a solution that is of interest to the kids in the group, then they'll be motivated to be alert, to be attentive, to have their moods be collaborative. But without any evidence to them of why it's relevant, the group work won't seem valuable and you won't have the buy-in. So clearly stating and starting with questions that are important to the kids and going on with inquiry or project-based learning is going to promote a better outcome. The stresses of education, the challenges in education today have never been as intense. There's more and more information and more access to the information. And what's unfortunately happening in the United States and throughout the world is the response in education to the increased information is to put it into books, teach it, and test it. And that's become essentially impossible. The amount of information cannot be put into books that are any bigger. And the system of memorizing information, while facts are frequently changing, amplified, is not an efficient system. The global marketplace, the global jobs and participation in democracy of the future is going to be based on kids who can interpret information, kids who can evaluate and be creative beyond what's here now, and who can adapt to changing facts. Well, through neuroimaging, we're finding out what parts of the brain are particularly active during judgment and analysis and creative cognitive switching and the ability to take information and transfer it to new tasks. And by promoting what appear to be the situations that cause those parts of the brain to do that activity, we're getting more insight into how to develop brains that will be ultimately successful in the 21st century. The brain is wired to be curious, and it's also wired to pay attention to predictions that it makes, because we have the same general system of memory and learning as other mammals. And it's important for a mammal, if they make a choice to chase after a rodent because it could be dinner, or a choice to follow a certain sound because it could be a mate, and that choice, which is a prediction, is right or wrong, it's important for the brain to retain that information. So the brain has this built-in system of reward. It comes back to that neurotransmitter of dopamine. So the brain actually becomes more alert when a choice is made, when a prediction is made, and it stays on this alert, gathering information until it gets the feedback whether it was a successful prediction or choice, the outcome was achieved or not. So when learning involves the opportunities to make choices and get feedback, that's going to be both memorable and sustain attention. one of the most critical elements of learning and progress in learning is for kids to realize that their brains are plastic, that because of something called neuroplasticity, anybody, no matter what achievements they've made to date or how quickly they learn compared to their other peers, anybody's brain can change. You wake up with a new brain every morning, and the things that make your brain improve, let's say in kicking a soccer ball or being able to do multiplication, every brain will become better the more it activates the circuits that hold that information. So basically practice, effort, using the knowledge or practicing the soccer with feedback as to whether it's right or wrong is going to allow anyone to change their brain. And so far, there's no evidence of a limit into how much better somebody can become, into how good somebody can be. And that's in the hands not of genetics, but of the individual. Practice can make the brain change, and everybody, no matter what, can change their brain.